Crash, crash, crash. That's all my PC has been doing lately. No jokes. New build. Crash, crash, crash. I'm sad. Alright champs, let's get rid of Windows Home and let's get some Windows Pro. Copy and paste my code from the description. New codes, new discount. You can get Windows Professional, Office. Paste my code. Boom. It's Windows Pro time. Righto, tell you there champs. Now, sometimes it's just better to stay simple. Just get something that friggin' works instead of messing about, building your own. I know if you love that sort of thing, that's great. But if you get a problem, yeah, it really sucks unless you got parts on hand to test, swap out and test. A lot of people don't tell you about that when you get a PC build. It's all fine when it goes well, but when it doesn't go well, it's headaches, it's time, and it's just very frustrating. And that's where one of these comes in. The Predator Orion 3000 gaming desktop. And have a look at it. It looks the part. It looks like a proper gaming machine. Those blue accents, the light up on the front, got the Predator logo. And have a look how tiny it is. Yeah, that's an eGPU. It's not much bigger than that. It's much smaller than a normal desktop. But don't be fooled by its size, because this has some serious punch. You can get up to a GTX 1080. I have in here the GTX 1070. You can also get a 1060 as well. This also supports a 8700 up to 64 gigs RAM. You have an M.2 slot. You can also use a hard drive and a SATA SSD if you want. And it's really easy to pick which one you want. GTX 1060 for 1080p, GTX 1070 for 1080p and 1440p, and a GTX 1080 if you want to do some 4K gaming. Actually, you can do a bit of 4K gaming on the 1070 as well. That's generally the rule of thumb there. So given that my model comes with 16GB RAM, GTX 1070 and a 6-core 8th generation 8700 CPU, we already know how that performs. There's a million videos on YouTube on how that setup would perform. So this will perform exactly the same. Or will it? The only thing that will hold it back is thermals and TDP. So let's first have a look around it and then check out those thermals to see if it actually will perform like a full GTX 1070 with an 8700 CPU in such a small tight package. And a quality package in that. It's really quality build. I have to say it is very nicely finished, and the gaming aesthetic will be to your liking or it won't, but yeah, it's quality. Alright, so let's have a look around this champ. We have USB-C, USB 3 and audio ins and outs. That's cool. You got a DVD drive, have all this nice blue accents around the thing. You have a headphone stand on either side of this machine, so you can hang your headphones on either side, doesn't matter which one. Looks pretty cool. So if you've got two, hey, I have two. So that'll be good for me. Have the fan at the front, the Predator logo. Look around the side, shows you what's inside, the Intel graphics, Dragonland, Sound Blaster. Have the Predator suite of apps. Around the back you have the power supply, you have a fan there. It is indeed a Cooler Master fan. 4 USB 2s, 2 USB 3s, Ethernet, and then you have the audio jacks, and you have a graphics card with 3 display ports, 1 HDMI and a DVI. And a lot of people still use DVI, so that's pretty cool. So it's easy to open up. You have, 4 slots, so you can put some extra RAM in there. CPU looks like should be able to be upgraded. You have a really compact graphics card, so if you did want to upgrade the graphics card, make sure you get the appropriate size, because you're not going to fit a full size one in here for sure. Easy to get to the hard drive here and the SSDs over there, so you can replace all that. And I guess the target market for this probably won't be touching this, but it's good that you can upgrade most of these components in here, if not all. Even the power supply here, 500 watts, you can upgrade that as well. Right, so as I've already said, B specs, up to a GTX 1080, 8700 6-core, you're going to get great gaming performance. Now, we already know what these parts perform like. This sort of system will give you the ultimate 1080p gaming, or 1440p 60 hertz, high settings, even more sometimes. Now the CPU is actually supposed to be 95 watts. Now as you can see here in Intel XTU, it's only 65 watts, so that's how they've tuned it, and it's very quiet like this and it won't overheat or whatever. But we want to get more out of it. We'll see how far we can push it. But first, let's see how it is in its stock configuration, see how it performs. So we'll just run prime 95, and we'll see how it handles that. Small FFTs. Now this is prime 95 26.6, so we'll just run that now. We'll just get core temp out, and we'll have a look at the gigahertz it's producing. Now the screen will go blank when I do this. Now it's boosting to 115 watts. As you can see, it reached 90 degrees. You can hear the fan. That's how loud it is. Then it stops its boost, and then it goes back to 3.3. Okay, so it was over 4 gigahertz then, and just boosted for a bit, and then it stops. And now listen to how quiet it is. You heard it just before. Now listen to it. It's very quiet. Now have a look at the temperatures, like just over 70 degrees. Very cool, 100%, 3.3, pushing 65 watts. So what's this look like with Unigen running? Will it get louder? Now Unigen, it's already had the CPU running at 100% as it stands at the moment. Now we're going to add GPU. We're going to load up that GPU, and the CPU will be running at 100%. Now, this is unrealistic. All right, so we're at a full screen now, and we'll just close that up. So the GPU is under load, and the CPU is under 100% load as well. So the GPU, CPU getting lit up, like absolutely pummeled now. And as you can see here, if you can zoom in, I'll try and zoom in here, we are getting 1961 megahertz with the GPU, and it's running at 65 degrees, and the CPU is 100%, 3.5 gigahertz. And let's have a look at that temperature in the 80s, and this is as loud as it gets. Listen, you might just be able to hear that. Perfectly fine. Like, this noise is not bad at all. It's actually quieter than probably my system under load. Alright, so let's crank it up. Now an 8700 can go over 4 gigahertz actually. If you can get a K part, obviously they go up to 5 gigahertz, but the stock one usually goes, over 4 sometimes. Let's see if we can get up to 4 gigahertz. Now the sound will increase, alright? So this will be perfectly fine. You'll get great performance out of this, but if you really want to boost your performance, get an extra, 10 frames per second more, well, this is what you want to do. You want to undervolt it, and you want to boost up that wattage. So we'll just undervolt it to minus 100 millivolts. Alright, so as you can see, we do have some power limit throttling here. That's because this 500 watt PSU, it's perfectly enough for this, but the way it's tuned out of the box, you will get some power limit throttling. Have a look at this, 3.4, and we're running at 80 degrees, about 82, 83, just let's say 82 degrees. GPU 1961, and yeah, we're running at 82 degrees with the GPU. So now take notice, that was 3.4 gigahertz. Now let's apply this undervolt plus 120 watts, see if we can get 120 watts into it. Oh, there you go. Alright, so this is why it's not tuned for 95 or over 100 watts. And as you can see, now we're pushing 4.3 nearly. 4.3 gigahertz. Let's see the temperatures now. Of course, we're getting up into the 90s. Getting up to, some of the cores are 100, but overall it's not 100. Still in the 90s, so we're pushing the limit, 4.2 gigahertz. Now you'll get the maximum performance out of it using this, and you will get up to 10 frames per second more, but it depends on the game, of course. But do you want this noise? Well, that's up to you. You can get the performance, you can get the full desktop performance of a full 8700. Now 4.3 is what a 8700K does stock. So this is performing exactly like an 8700K now stock. And as you can see here, we're pushing 90 something degrees. It's not throttling at all. We're getting that 4.3. And if we have, and this is undervolted, of course. If you don't undervolt it, it will get hotter. But yeah, some thermal limit throttle in there, but really, yeah, we're getting maximum beans out of this. And has this affected the GPU? Now, what's the temperature of the GPU? Let's have a look. The temperature of the GPU is still 82 degrees and it's still going over 1900 megahertz. So 1960 hasn't slowed down at all. So you're getting the full beans out of this. And if you had a GTX 1080, you would get even more performance again. And I don't see why this package would limit it. To be perfectly honest, I would just rather play in its stock mode. You know, it doesn't perform quite as good. But we'll go here, we'll change it back and have a listen. Let's go to default, show values, apply those, and watch the fan turn off pretty quickly. And it was going 4.3. The fan should turn off pretty soon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I actually? Oh, there we go. I was wondering if I applied it there. But there you go. Went down to the stock 3.9. Temperatures have plummeted. They've gone down to 80 again. So that just shows you how good the cooling is. It went bang, straight away down to 80. Yeah, you're getting full performance out of these parts. If you want to do it, run stock, you're going to be running at that 3.5 gigahertz with the CPU. You can get up to 4.3, as I said, undervolted, and just pump a bit more juice into it. Really, the choice is up to you. But now in its stock configuration, have a listen. Yeah, it's not silent, but it's perfectly fine, in my opinion. So there you have it. If you just want to pre-build a small thing that's going to tuck away in a corner, it's not too noisy. If you leave it in its stock configuration, you get great gaming performance out of this, depending on which GPU you get, of course. Get all the storage options. You can have an Optane drive, you can have an M.2 SSD, and upgrade most of the components in there. Now, the price here in Australia, yeah, it's a bit expensive, like $3,000 for the GTX 1070 model. You could build a system cheaper. I guess, do you value your time? What happens if something goes wrong? Can you just call up ACER and go, hey, fix my computer? Or are you going to have a headache? I mean, it's up to you which way you go. I definitely recommend it in terms of performance and quality. You know, 3,000 here in Australia. You know, I've seen the GTX 1060 model in America for like 1,100, and the same sort of model for £900 in the UK. And that one, you have the i5. Yeah, it's not cheap, but if you just want trouble-free, hassle-free gaming that's not going to crash, it's a good choice. So I would like to really thank you guys for watching. If you're new around here, come on, sub up, join the Woo train, and until next time, guys, tally ho.